My last video was already 2 weeks ago, and I think it's time again to go through all the projects that I regularly analyze and see what has happened in the last 2 weeks. Because the markets have been quite turbulent in the last few days, I want to pick out 2 coins that I'd like to discuss with you in a bit more detail. On one hand, of course, there's Bitcoin, because I want to take a look with you at what a scenario might look like if Bitcoin is indeed on its way to a bear market. And secondly, I want to dive a bit deeper into the analysis of Cardano with you to also to look at how the price might develop on the smaller time frame. Since the last video was already 2 weeks ago, I would appreciate it if you could really push this video, because the view counts are probably going to be lower, and you could help me counter that by definitely hitting the like button and leaving me a nice comment. Just write it down for me. Is the bull run continuing, or has it come to an end? I'd like to get a sense of your opinions on that. And let me know which of the coins that I'm currently analyzing regularly I should take a closer look at in one of my next videos. There have been multiple requests for SEI. That will be the next price that I analyze in a separate video. But feel free to let me know which coins you would be more interested in. But now I would say let's start with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin here on the higher time frame, not much has changed yet, except that we've moved a bit further down in this area up here. We'll take a closer look at that in just a moment. The question that arises now is whether this downward movement that we've already seen is the beginning of the bear market, or is it just a normal correction in a wave? 4. And we're climbing again in one last wave movement and grabbing it a bit more up here. A new all-time high that could lead us there, up to about 122,000 US dollars. Oh, as of now. From a technical chart perspective, everything is currently looking good for Bitcoin, because this trend reversal area that I've marked here is meant to indicate that, okay, in this area, the price should or can turn around to start the next upward movement. And we are moving right in this area. That means everything is actually going according to plan right now. Of course, I can understand if we lose about 30% from our peak here. When it comes to losing with Bitcoin, you start to feel a bit colder. You start to feel a bit uneasy, especially when you look at Bitcoin. And we'll get into that later as well. 1. It will only become critical for Bitcoin if we drop below the EON05 Fibonacci level. The price level is at 75,600 US dollars. If we go down there, then should we start to think about whether this is really the end of the bull run for Bitcoin? That's why I also want to add a wave degree here, the 0.06 Fibonacci, because sometimes these waves actually go a bit deeper than the regular target. But despite all that, I'm already marking this area here in a bit of red. 1. Because, as I said, if we fall below 75.6, then the probabilities change. Then it's quite possible that the price could turn back up again. But generally, that's when the bets start to shift towards a bear market, and we can be absolutely sure that this is no longer a wave 4. And the last surge comes when the price falls below, about 69,500 US dollars. Is the bull run really over? Currently, from the current price perspective, we are from there. The absolute invalidation threshold is still 16% away, and is critical. If Bitcoin were to drop another 9% from the current price. How this continues to move up if we build a new top again, I think that's relatively easy to answer. But what happens if Bitcoin actually enters a bear market? There it is. This is the bull run recorded here, in theory. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. We have now reached the point where the question is, will Bitcoin make that last upward move or not? So that's basically this big question mark. And once we've found the top, whether it was here already or up there, there will be a 3-part downward movement in one wave, ABC. And this is also divided into 5 waves down into the A. 2 waves up into the B, and then another 5 waves down into the C before the bear market ends. And we will illustrate all of this here, which means we have now reached our bull run top. Then we move down into a wave A, correct into ein Che, a wave B, and then move down again into a wave C. This is what the bear market looks like. how it could typically unfold. The all-important question is, and we're just about to hit this run that many are still expecting. It would be quite conceivable, that if we were to sell off now, we could move down here and build this summer lull and then have another rise in the fall. The tricky thing about Wave B is that they can be very short, but they can also overshoot and be very long. And personally, I currently assume that if this scenario plays out, where we fill this summer lull, we will get a year-end rally. Let's also take a look at how these rallies have looked in the past, before it finally goes into the bear market after this rally, where we could be looking at prices around 30,000 US dollars or maybe even less. So let's take a look at how the individual bull runs have played out so far. Here we had our bull run top in 2013. We moved down in 5 movements. We built out the low here. And then I'll make this a bit bigger. We moved up in a 3-part movement before the bear market continued. And from this low of Wave A up to the top of Wave B, Bitcoin has pretty much doubled in value, meaning it has increased by about 100%. When we enter the next bull run, it was similar. We also went down. We went down in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, and then up in 1, 2, 3 waves before the bear market continued. And it was such that from the low point of Wave A up to the top of Wave B. We also had a 100% increase in value before the price fell again. And in the last bull run, we even had a special case because back here we had an overshooting Wave B during the second rise. You can see it quite well because this movement was also just, again, it was in 1, 2, 3 parts. And then came the further bear market, which we wrapped up in 2022. And here it was such that from the low point to the top, we had an increase in value of about nearly 140%. This means for us, if we go back here again, that we can assume, should this scenario repeat itself, that we could have a recovery from our sell-off. Repeat, that we are from our sale. We could have another recovery of about 100% before the price then continues to rise, and I could do that without getting ahead of myself. I can also see that many altcoins will use this to have another rally before the big one should completely collapse. Of course, we still need to build out Wave 5, and you can also see quite well in many charts that this scenario could fit the chart very nicely. Let me know in the comments what scenario you personally believe in, as I mentioned earlier. Are we building Wave 5 now, or are we going into a summer, this lull first, and taking advantage of the year-end rally? As I said, let me know what you personally consider, your favorites. But now let's move on and take a look at it for the very first time. Cardano. With Cardano, the chart isn't quite sure where it wants to go exactly. I had already done that months ago. I've marked this trend reversal area here, and I said that the price definitely needs to get above this price box to be able to start further upward momentum, and possibly these price targets again, to reach around 225 or 335. But the price is struggling. Let's take a look at this on the smaller time frame. Here, we potentially expanded Wave 3, and we moved down from there in a Wave 4. But this price target, this price box that we have, is pretty much identical to the price box of Wave 4 that we have already walked under here, but not sustainably, only with a wick. And that only in the 4-hour chart means that this whole thing is still valid and applicable, and we can hope to move further up now. What is unfortunate about the chart is that the upward movement since Wave 4 has only been 3-part into the higher Wave 1, then 3-part. 3 parts down into Wave 2. That means we've practically only expanded in 3 parts each time. And that means if the price wants to go up further, we also need a 3-part movement. And we can currently see that since our top that we formed up here. 1, 2, 3 waves. And Cardano should hold on now and not expand waves 4 and 5, because then the whole thing looks rather bearish. At the latest, if we fall below 56.9 cents, the likelihood is extremely high that the price will completely crash down. And only if we manage to hold the 3 waves can we move further up. In Wave 3, there's already a price target of about 148. And from there, it could then continue into wave 4 and into wave 5, where we could then reach a price around 230. If we don't hold the support here at this low of 58 cents, then the price is likely to completely collapse. This means that we are building a much deeper wave 2 than what we have here. In a bear market, it should be down here. Somewhere around, at around $11, it could even drop down to 5 cents. And then the price could take off again and try to build a new high. Then it would basically just be a corrective 3-part bear market rally, so to speak, before the price dives down again. And that's not so unlikely at all, because the target for this wave 2 is between the 0.5 and the 0.6 Fibonacci. And right now we're in a bear market hitting the 0.5. Fibonacci has been reached, and there's still a lot of room to go down, which is why this scenario isn't ruled out. Next, let's move on to Polkadot. With Polkadot, Polkadot is currently still in a correction because it hasn't made it in the past twice already to break this resistance of about 1180, 1190. And it's kind of in a sideways movement since this low point of about $3.50. The sin has already been tested 1, 2, 3, 4 times. The price should more or less turn around down here again. Was tested and the price more or less, it should turn around down here again. And then the question arises, are we just heading into a B wave? Heirische. If wave 2 sells off further afterwards, it would mean that we have developed a wave 1 here since the bull run peak in an ABC structure, wave 2. And now we are moving down into this wave 3, which will also be formed in 5 parts in a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we would have prices down here that could be around between $2 and $1.60. Approximately, that could still change a bit. And yes, that would mean Polkadot is more or less out of the bull run and wouldn't play any further role. Alternatively, and this is the crucial part, if we turn here, in my opinion, there would still be a possibility that this whole thing has been it. Wave A is 3 parts. So T, A, B, C, 2, 1. Then we have A, Econ, Bitont, Fentontumas, wave B. And then we would have another wave, 8 bit C to the overarching wave C before this sell-off comes. And if Polkadot should manage that, then we would have the alt possibility to reach price targets that would likely be between around $14 and up to $30 at the peak. But I would rather focus on the lower end if it even gets there, since Polkadot hasn't really shown strength in the past. If you look at the whole thing again now with the bear market, it could be pretty much the same, because if Bitcoin manages to really push forward now and expand wave 5, I can definitely see us moving back up into this area. And if Bitcoin doesn't manage to do that, it would mean that the price is already moving down in these 5 waves, which means that at some point a short recovery will come before the price continues to collapse. And exactly that could happen, that we only expand this bearish wave to with a price of $6.70 to maybe $7.5 to $8 before the price is likely to crash down further. For those who are interested in such analyses, also on a smaller time frame, just like we discussed earlier with Cardano, feel free to check out my Discord server via Patreon, because that's where I analyze all the coins that I'm going to introduce to you 3 times a week, where you basically get this chart image updated each time. And I also write how I interpret the chart and explain all the counts as well. And as simply and straightforwardly as possible, so that you're always up to date on how the prices are developing. Because right now, as it's deciding between a bear market and a bull market, I think it's never a bad idea to get very short term. You get information on how the prices are developing and what the probabilities look like. And the good thing for you is every course I offer you costs €5 a month, and you can also do all of this on a monthly basis. Cancel again. These are not binding contracts. Instead, you simply have the option to book the price. which, in the worst case, you only hold for a month, because then you would have already sold, however that may be. And then you book that, or you message me and say, hey, I don't want Polkadot anymore, which, by the way, is a very sought-after coin for me. Or then we switch everything over to another coin, but like XRP, which I also analyze, because the momentum looks completely different there. Definitely check that out below. The link is in the video description, where everything is explained in a bit more detail. I would be happy to see you on the Discord server as well. Next we come to Chainlink. Chainlink? Yes, it was for a long time the coin that was actually performing exemplary, but right now it's showing significant weakness. I've already removed the completely bullish scenario for Chainlink from the chart because we can no longer reach that. The assumption was that we just have some Fomis wave 1, 2, extend 3, 4 and 5 and move upwards. But this wave 4 is clearly too deep, so I no longer see the possibility that this could be a wave 4. Instead, there are now two scenarios that could play out. On one hand, it could be that, similar to Polkadot, this was just a temporary rally in a three-part structure, meaning in a wave A, B, and C. And we will now crash down into a deeper wave 2. I haven't entered the FIPS here, but I have. The thing is, wave 2 at Chainlink was only expanded, very shallowly, and it is quite possible that we will run deeper into the wave again, 2. Before Chainlink gets another chance to break out upwards. There would also be a bullish count. In that case, we could reach prices up here. Maybe up to 58 US dollars, maybe a bit more. But I would rather focus on the lower range here. Because in that case, we have built a wave 1 since the bear market. This whole thing is an ABC wave. So we had an overshooting wave B, just like in the last bull market with Bitcoin. We're going down again here. We still had room up to about $6, $7 and then start from down here into a wave 3, 4, and 5. I could also imagine that if you compare it with Bitcoin, because altcoins often give more gas than Bitcoin, we ourselves, that with the next rise, if Bitcoin actually builds its last wave, we could still see Chainlink move upwards. If it doesn't build up, then of course it will go down here. Next we come to XRP. It looks quite unremarkable. On the higher time frame, there it is, we have a wave. 1, wave 2, wave 3. And here we are, with a wick in wave 4, and the question is, are we jumping straight into wave 5 now, or are we going to extend wave 4 a bit deeper? And in the worst case, but here we are, for XRP, if we fall below the 0.5 Fibonacci at around 1.20, it would mean that we only had a 3-part move upwards. And we found the top here, and we're crashing back down into the bear market. And that this whole thing brings much more dynamics with it. You can see that when you transition here. Moving on to the analysis. I won't explain that to you now, but you can see that there is a lot of dynamism here as to how the course can develop. So if you are interested, you are welcome to book these analyses, as I said. And then we'll see each other on the Discord server. With Chainlink, it is now the case that the hoped for profits and this insider tip that the VECHAIN price is still making incredible profits have now also been shattered. Because here it is similar to Polkadot that we are either also expanding a bearish wave 2 here with the prices hovering between around 4 and at the peak 6 cents, but I would rather settle around 4.8 to 5 cents before the price continues to sell off. And if we manage to break through, then there could definitely be price targets up to around 12 cents that could be reached. With a VECHAIN, I see it similarly. If Bitcoin builds wave 5, then that area is likely to be reached. If we don't build wave 5, then it will probably just be that area. What you can perhaps see well is that this wave 2 is formed in 3 parts, and for the upward movement, we need 5 waves. And there you might already be able to see a bit over time how this whole thing could develop. Next, we come to regarding ALGORAND, it's really a mixed bag. I mentioned a long time ago that ALGORAND probably won't reach a new all-time high. I've also received comments in my video that have strongly doubted this, but you can see that the price isn't really showing any significant strength. And yes, there's still a chance that ALGORAND could build a wave B here and then go into a wave C here upwards. C upwards. Upwardly before the price will likely collapse and go into a bear market. But if this wave C goes above $81 then I could imagine that we will add a wave 4 and a wave 5. Because ALGORAND's market cap is no longer as high as it once was, it's certainly possible that we could still climb here and touch the old Oldham high again. But for me, since it's also marked in orange, it's more mage, like a bit of opium, which I'd like to give you a little bit more. But realistically, we're more likely to see a wave C here before we sell off. Or if Bitcoin doesn't reach a new-ish high, that could lead to a direct decline for ALGORAND, where we could then say wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 downwards. A temporary correction, and then it continues. But I see it similarly to the Bitcoin price. If we manage to expand to wave 5 again with Bitcoin, then I could imagine that we will also expand to wave 10 here. And if Bitcoin doesn't reach a new all-time high, it will likely go straight down from here. Next, let's move on to Bull SEI. It has really performed exemplary. So I also opened a short position and was able to take some good profits. I also wrote that in the Discord server that I'm opening a short position. And those who participated did, well, because at its peak, of course, you only really know how things might go once the price has developed a bit. But the price has already lost 75%, or rather lost 77% in value. And that was a good short position because I had already marked on the chart months ago that if the bullish momentum doesn't play out, it would be more here. It will fall down into a price range that should be between 14 and 5 cents. But right now it looks like, since this is a trend channel, we might be coming to a standstill sooner. And after that, there are then two possibilities. Once that we might rise again into a wave C. That could also happen again, possibly, if Bitcoin starts another rally. Or the price also moves sideways for a long time before it then takes off again. And then it could be, but I believe that this won't happen in the current bull market. Be really off to a good start and get another price of around 10. Put down a price of $8.43. Wait, we still have to go down a bit. It could settle at a price of $8.43 and maybe even more. But that would be more likely if we go into a bear market than for a rally out of the next bear market. Next, we come to FET. FET is currently developing quite differently than hoped. Not a pretty price anymore because for a long time people thought, okay, we're still building out a wave 5, which theoretically could still be possible. But here it is such that we have already broken below the 0.6 Fibonacci level in wave 4. So that means below this danger line. So either the price really needs to be explosive now, and it shows us that it wants to go up to give the scenario another chance, but it actually looks much more like we've lost the bullish momentum here. And that this whole thing has just been an ABC correction, and now we're running down here. In a wave 1, no, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then more or less go into the bear market. And in the worst case, well, also we could break down completely here again and establish a new low. I see it the same way again. It's repeating itself. If Bitcoin manages to make a trend reversal now and FETSCH really takes off, then this could still be possible. Otherwise, I believe we're more likely in a bearish count here. Then we come to SUI. SUI looked very good for a long time as well. And yes, it still looks good, of course, but we've already fallen into the Arrow 5 Fibonacci with a candle here. This means that the price should now slowly turn. Because this red zone is now beginning, where you say, okay, if the price falls sustainably now, then there won't be any further increase, then that was already the top in the wave. See, And we are already more or less in the early stages of the bear market, where you might say, okay, the price is building a wave 1, the wave A, then there's a brief sprint into a wave B, and then we go down into a wave C. So we're not just crashing through directly, but it would be nicer if we could still make that rise here. Then there will also be a downward movement that could bring us some good prices. In the fall, yes, GLQ. It's doing for exactly what I've been saying for a long time. It's moving down here either into a wave B. If it completes that, it will run similarly to Bitcoin. And we're going back up again. And when it goes into the bear market, then we have a wave 3. Then comes a wave 4. And then wave 5, which in an emergency will that could bring us down to a new bear market low. We'll have to wait and see accordingly. The area between the 0.5 and 0.6 Fibonacci levels will be important. Wave B. They just don't have a fixed price target. It could also be that the price turns around earlier or drops even lower. But if we turn around here in the price box, if we were to turn around, then the likelihood of going up again would be much greater than if we break through here, because then it becomes more and more likely that there will just be another interim rally before the price completely crashes. Then we come to QUANT. With QUANT, again, everything will be aligned. With Bitcoin, if Bitcoin turns around, we could see another upswing into wave C. Then we could be looking at prices around $238, maybe a bit more. I don't believe it will go up this high. The price is just too bad for that. You also have to see that we basically have a steadily declining price here. And it would be really important if we get another rise that we break the high of $171 from December. And if Bitcoin does end up going into the bear market, then QUANT is likely to sell off as well. Either just build a deeper wave 2 here, but since this wave 2 was already very deep, the likelihood is greater that we could see a new low here. Then we have CKB here, and it looks like this as well. Are we heading back towards Bitcoin? If Bitcoin doesn't make a new all-time high, then we'll be heading downwards. In waves 3, 4, and 5, if the price manages to turn around here before completely selling off, we still have room until about $0.30. But even there, you have to say that the waves B not have this fixed price target. It would be nice if we could turn around here to be sure, or relatively sure, that it goes up into wave C again. Price targets will come once we've found the bottom, or what do you think? The price is crashing and could actually drop to $0.001 in the next downward movement. In conclusion, just briefly, here is the Bitcoin dominance, which is partly responsible or mainly responsible for whether there will be another rally for Bitcoin. And you can see here from the bull market of 2017 that Bitcoin dominance was very high, logically, because there weren't many altcoins at that time. Then it dropped massively, which was the altcoin rally. And there was again an increase in Bitcoin dominance. And then with the next bull run, we completely lost Bitcoin dominance again. And since the last bear market, Bitcoin has been consistently rising, similar to this, only in a more straight line. And basically, we should hope that the Bitcoin dominance will eventually decrease and break down, because then there would be another real altcoin rally. You have to consider that this small red candle here going down was that little rally when Trump was elected president. So this small candle caused these increases. And when you think about it, if Bitcoin dominance actually falls again, and it will have to fall at some point logically, then there should be another real rally. And then there are these bullish targets that I have shown you are quite realistic. But for that, Bitcoin has to cooperate and build on its last movement. Yes, that was a very, very long video that I presented to you. I hope you found some value in that. Then leave me a thumbs up and a comment about what you think. Are we heading straight into a bear market, or is there still another wave? 5, And if you want to trade cryptos, because of course you can also trade a lot. Right now, take a look at the exchange CoinEx. I've been working a lot with it. I've been very satisfied for 2 years. The exchange has been around for almost 7 years, almost as long as Binance, but it mainly operates in the Asian market. They are active and therefore not so well known to us. Feel free to take a look at that. And to wrap things up, I also want to say, for everyone who thinks, okay, I'm going through the summer slump and I could really use a crypto wallet, then check out the Tangem wallet in credit card format. It's a great piece. Yes, very discreet, fits into any wallet. You can basically do your trades right from your phone. You can make your trades right away. You don't need no PC needed. You're completely independent. And of course, check out the Discord server to discuss the analyses with you in the future. I hope there were some exciting pieces of information for you in today's video. Feel free to leave a thumbs up on the video and write me a short comment. Or maybe just a little smiley. And I would like to point out that in the credits, another exciting chart analysis is waiting for you. I wish you all a great time until the next video and bye.